In this video, we're going to talk about counting principle and combinations, how many different order type questions you might find. There's not always one of these, but occasionally these come up. So I just want to talk about these for just a few minutes and show you a couple of different types of examples. So the first one is what we call the counting principle. And it's just a way of finding the total number of possible outcomes by multiplying the number of choices for each step. On the math test, I've seen these questions like, how many different sandwich combinations can you make if you have 2 different kinds of bread and 3 different kinds of meats and 4 different vegetables? And all you really have to do is multiply 2 times 3 times 4. I've seen we go shopping and we buy outfits, and I can buy this many pair of pants and this many shirts and this many sweaters. How many outfits can I make? So these kinds of questions are really pretty easy to get if you know how to do them. So here's the first question. In a chemistry lab, students choose from 3 different colors of lab coats and 2 different types of safety goggles. How many different possible coat and goggle combinations are there? So let me show you how we actually get this. So I'm going to say I have red, um, green, and blue lab coats. And I have goggles that are full face or just partial. They cover the eyes but not the whole face. So if I'm thinking about how many different possible outcomes are there, I can bring the red coat with the full face goggles or just the partial goggles. So there are red coat, 2 different types of goggles. Green coat, 2 different types of goggles, full face or partial. And then the blue coat and full face or partial. And so we call this like a tree diagram. You don't have to draw them, but if I have 3 different coats and with each coat I have 2 different type of goggles, then all we have to do is multiply 3 times 2 and figure out there are 6 different ways or 6 different combinations that we could put together. Red and full face or red and partial. Green and full face, green and partial. Blue and full face, blue and partial. So that's how you do these. And the more things you have, the harder it is to draw this tree diagram. The next one, I have flowers that have 2 petal colors, red or yellow. And each one of these has 3 leaf shapes. So let's say I'm just going to use square, circle, and triangle. Not that the leaves would be that shape, but just to show you. Square, circle, and triangle. So now I have 2 petals, 3 different shapes. So I'm already up to 6. And then 2 stem lengths, tall or short, tall or short, tall or short, tall, short, tall, short, tall, short. So I can have a yellow petal with a round leaf shape that is tall, or I can have a yellow petal with a round leaf shape that is short. So what you have to do is multiply 2 petal colors times 3 leaf shapes times 2 stem lengths, and I get 12 different possibilities. And if I count these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different possible combinations or ways that we can put these things together. Okay, so that is one thing. If you're looking at total possible outcomes or, the different things we can do. So there are 2 other words that often get confused. I even confuse them some, but we're going to see if we can look at permutations are questions where the order does matter. And so they may say, how many different orders can you put these things in? Or how many different sequences can they go in? And so if I do these kinds of questions, a chemist has 5 test tubes, and I want to put them in a specific order. How many different arrangements can we do? So of all 5 test tubes, what you have to do is just take 5 test tubes, because if I've got 5 slots, 5 slots in my test tube holder. My first slot, I can put any of the 5. But once I've used one of them here in my second spot, I only have 4. And once I've used these 2 in my third spot, I only have 3. My next one, I only have 2. My last one, there's no choice. It's just whatever's left. So if you multiply these numbers together, that's going to give you the total number of different orders that we can put things in. So on our calculator, we're going to do 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and we get 120 different orders that we can put 5 test tubes. Okay, very similar question, but my number's different. There are 4 satellites that are going to be launched, one right after another. Okay, order matters. How many different orders are there? Well, I have my first satellite, I have 4 different ones that can be launched. In the second spot, now I only have 3. Third spot, I only have 2. And last one, after I've launched those 3, I don't have any choice. It's just whichever one's left. 4 times 3 times 2, there would be 24 different orders that we can launch 4 satellites. Okay, now let's suppose I have a different kind of question. Here, order still doesn't matter, but a biologist has 6 bird species that they're going to tag. They want to use 3 different colors for each species, but the order of the tagging matters. How many different tagging sequences can be used with 3 of the birds? So with this kind of question, what we have to do is we're not using all 6 of the birds. If I were going to tag all 6 of them, I'd want to do 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, and that would tell me how many different orders I can tag those 6 different birds. But we're only going to tag 3 birds. So what we have to do is only multiply the first 3 numbers together. 6 times 5 times 4. And so 6 times 5 times 4 is 120 different ways we could order 3 of the 6 birds. Okay, so like I said, they're not real hard questions to get right. The hardest part is trying to figure out if order matters or if order doesn't matter. Sometimes they may tell you that in the question, but the order matters. So sometimes they tell you, but other times you'll just have to figure out, am I talking about something where order matters or order doesn't matter? So let's look at some things where the order doesn't matter and see what happens. So these are called combinations. And so I have a biology teacher with 10 students, and she wants to select a team of 3 students to collect insect samples. How many different teams could be chosen? And here's how order doesn't matter. When I think about different teams or different groupings, if I say Bob, Jill, and Ben, that's the same group as Ben, Bob, and Jill. And it's the same group as Jill, Ben, and Bob. So that group of 3 is the same group no matter what order I put their names in. And so that's why these questions are a little harder. Order doesn't matter. But if I have 10 students and I want to pick 3 of them, the first thing we have to do is know that I want to take those first 3 numbers, 10 times 9 times 8. So I got 10 students and I'm going to use 3 of them. Okay, and on the bottom, here's what we have to divide by to get rid of those repeats. This 3 is really important, but we're going to divide by 3 times 2 times 1. And there's all kinds of information you can read. You can watch other videos about permutations and combinations. There's different formulas that are, you can put the numbers in and it'll do them for you. But the easiest way to think about it is I got 10 students to choose from. I'm only going to pick 3. So 10 times 9 times 8 gives you those 3 students. And on the bottom, if I pick 3, I want to do 3 times 2 times 1 to get rid of the repeats. So on the top, I'm going to do, I could do it in a fraction, 10 times 9 times 8. And on the bottom, I'm going to do 3 times 2 times 1. So it's going to give me whatever the top number is divided by 6. And there are 120 different groups. If I were doing 4 students, we would want to put 4 numbers on top. And on the bottom, we do 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 to get rid of the repeats. So combinations, order doesn't matter. You have to remove any repeats. You have to allow for repeats by dividing out some of those repeats on the bottom. Okay, so let's look at one more here. A biologist is studying a population of 12 frogs. She needs to catch 3 frogs, but the order doesn't matter. How many different groups of 3 frogs can we pick? 12 frogs, 3 of them. So we're going to pick our first 3 numbers, 12 times 11 times 10. And on the bottom, I got 3 frogs. I'm going to divide by 3 times 2 times 1. And so if I do 12 times 11 times 10, that gives me that. 3 times 2 times 1 is 6. So I'm going to divide that answer by 6 and find out now there are 220 different groups of frogs that I could pick. If I just randomly caught 3 of the 12 frogs, 220 different frog combinations would be possible. Last one here, a telescope is going to observe 2 galaxies out of 15. So there are 15 galaxies to pick from, and I'm going to observe 2 of them. So I need my 2 numbers, 15 times 14. Observing 2 galleries, order doesn't matter, just different pairings. On the bottom, I'm going to divide by 2 times 1. And so if I do my math, 15 times 14 divided by 2 gives me 105 different pairs of galaxies. Pairs of galaxies to observe. Now, like I said, this is something that, I don't know how often it shows up. It shows up occasionally. It's something you might need to know how to do, but there won't be a lot of these questions on here. I'm not even going to say it would be on every different science test you would take, but you might see something occasionally come up with how many different orders you can put things in, how many different, I've seen like questions with farmers and their crops, and I got 4 crops that I want to plant. How many different orders could I plant them in over the next 4 years? So those kinds of questions might come up occasionally. Just something interesting to kind of look at a little bit. Combinations, permutations, different ordering, different ways to arrange different things.